Yo, we're talking about, welcome to the Bill Burr recovery group.
Yeah, I went into therapy after that episode.
Did you really?
I'm not even being kidding.
And it was tough, man. It was tough. Like, I couldn't. It was just a tough conversation, man. It just wasn't. It wasn't bad. You know what it was? In hindsight, it was exactly what I should have expected. You know, he's Bill Burr.
I think we can all agree now that Bill Burr has positioned himself as one of the GOATs when it comes to stand-up comedy and is known for not holding back and being a complete savage whenever he sees an opening. Now, there are many examples of that, like the famous Philly rants, TV appearances, and radio shows, but there are two specific podcast appearances that stand out to me for how awkward and intense they were when it happened. And now they can probably be considered his worst podcast appearances when it comes to the chemistry and overall dynamic of the show. Now, you could blame Ethan's inexperience or the fact that he was starting off, but the one with Theo Von seemed a little bit more personal and just odd. So let's get started.
When I lived in Tucson, they had a guy had a school bus. He cut the top off of it and would drive it around. A full, like, convertible.
Was it the full-size one?
Oh, yeah.
Now, did it have an option, especially in Arizona, where you could maybe, you ever see the Jeeps? They have like those tarp things you can put on the top so the doors are off and all that, so you get the wind in your face, but you don't roast. I would think you'd want that in Arizona.
Sometimes he would put like a tarp over it at night and stuff, I think during like maybe, I guess the spring or something. But I think otherwise it was just one option, open, So just cruise.
At any point, can I promote that I have a special out here?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know where we're going with this.
Well, that's all right.
I have a special out on that's streaming now on Netflix.
Now, keep in mind, this only happened 5 minutes into the podcast, and it is worth pointing out that it's not unusual for Bill to just come out and say that he wants to promote something and make it seem as if that's the only reason why he's there for. But what is unusual is how fast Bill gave up on Theo's shtick. He asked a couple questions, engaged with the joke a little bit, and then completely gave up after a few seconds, because Theo Von does have a unique style of comedy that sometimes people like Joe Rogan might not understand or catch on. But when it comes to Rogan, he has never been weird about it.
One time, this guy made his son a wooden shirt. Did I tell you that?
A wooden shirt?
Yeah, he made his son a shirt out of plywood for Christmas.
What?
Yeah.
He wanted a kid to wear it?
Oh, yeah, he did. And I remember I was...
Wait a minute. Is it a stiff shirt, or did he make it like little itty-bitty tiny pieces of plywood and weave it all together?
Oh, no, it was pretty stiff. And the dad was a...
So now looking back, you got to give some props to Joe Rogan, and that's an example of why he is where he is now. He literally went on with Theo Von's wooden shirt story for about 4 minutes. 4 minutes on one of the biggest shows talking about a wooden shirt, compared to Bill Burr, who after a few seconds was like, screw this, I'm not doing that. Now, it's worth pointing out that back when this happened, Bill Burr was levels ahead of Theo Von. So it could be a scenario where he maybe saw this as a favor for Theo, or just simply did whatever he wanted to because he could.
It's real scary, I feel like. That's one of the reasons why I think acting is real scary to me, because I really I guess I kind of treasure the things that I do comedically. Right. And so I just don't want to leave him at the whims of some other, some guy who's been up for 4 days.
Did you just say you treasure what you do? Like literally your act?
Bit, yeah.
You're worried that some big Hollywood director, you can't take your comedic skills and say what the fuck somebody else wrote? You treasure your act so much. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
The way that I present it, man.
This dude is going to be such a nightmare when he makes it. I treasure these jokes. How dare you, this... What do they call it? This is vulgar. This edit is vulgar.
I just think I have a tough time working with other people sometimes, which is one of the reasons why I got into comedy anyway. I just think.
Well, I would say get over that.
Yeah.
Get over yourself and get over that, because there's a lot of great people in this business, and you're gonna miss out. Yeah, I would get. Is that me? Sorry. I would try to get over whatever social thing that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is very interesting because eventually Theo Von did change his mind, and he has now started acting. I think he did, or was supposed to do a movie with with Bobby Lee and Johnny Knoxville, but it hasn't been released. So now looking back, it was clear that Bill Burr was simply attacking and calling out the BS narrative that was mainly started by Joe Rogan and being pushed by Theo Von, which was that essentially stand-up comics were the last or the real comics because they have 100% control of their art and what they write and say on stage, and releasing some of that control to a civilian would heavily affect their art form, which I guess it sounds cool, but it's just not practical and it's unnecessary because you could still definitely perform your own act and write everything yourself and also be an actor on the side and doing other projects. Obviously, for Joe Rogan, I believe he's the only last comic that truly doesn't really care about acting because everybody else does. Every other single comedian wants to be an actor regardless of how big they are.
And with a bottle of whiskey remember that on Mary Tyler Moore
No,
show? She'd have a rough day and she'd come in. And
I don't remember the whole show.
I can explain it to you.
Yeah.
If I can explain it to you. I don't know what that is. All right.
No, I believe it.
I don't know. And the second I started to explain it, like, I don't know the whole show. All right, fine, I get it.
I believe
That's that comic ADD. Like, I don't want to I'm not into it. I don't want to hear it. I got it.
Now, at this point of the podcast is when things start to go south because Bill Burr starts blasting Theo for no reason. And the thing is, it was over nothing because Theo Von was being extremely nice, and I don't think he was dismissing Bill's super old reference. In fact, when he engaged and said something about the actress, Bill was still not satisfied and actually disagreed with what Theo said. So at this point, it was just an uphill battle for Theo Von. But then the weirdest thing happened. By the way, if you're liking what you're seeing so far, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps out the channel so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And in the middle of the night in a Black Hawk helicopter. Praise God, brother.
Well, there you go. So, yes, he's been in a helicopter.
So I have been in one, but only with a gun. Only when people had guns. Do you keep a weapon on yours or no?
On what?
In your, I don't know if you have a helicopter, if you rent a helicopter.
Do I really have to answer that? He knows goddamn well I don't have a weapon. Why are you doing this?
You don't? You don't have a gun? I don't think that's obtuse really to think you might have a weapon in there with you. Think about it.
Yeah, think about it.
Okay, all right.
You think about it.
All right. All right, man. Just a small gun, dude. Just a handpiece.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Fine, Bill.
It's just a ridiculous question.
I thought it would be.
You bringing Uzi up there when you fly as a hobby?
At this point, you could tell that Bill Burr was mentally clocked out and basically just waiting for the timer to run out because he was leaning back, biting his nails, basically turning to the producers and not talking to Theo Von, just shutting down all of his questions. Now, the gun in the helicopter question was a little bit silly, especially when it comes to Bill Burr, but at the end of the day, who cares? It's two comedians in a podcast just talking shit. Obviously, the podcast overall wasn't that bad. It was just mainly uncomfortable for Theo Von. Bill did end the podcast shortly after that, but here's the thing and the biggest takeaway. Theo Von's ability to recognize what happened, to look back and actually try to improve it is key. And honestly, it shows you the night and day difference between him and somebody like Brendan Schaub because he performed bad. He had a bad performance and decided to reflect and see what happened and was open to talk about it. Whereas somebody like Schaub completely turned against everyone that had something negative to say about something that he did, which completely backfired. And I think because of that mentality and approach, Theo Von has been able to grow on so much and now is not that far away from Bill Burr when it comes to maybe fame, I guess. Obviously, in my opinion, Bill Burr is still way ahead of Theo Von when it comes to comedy, writing, whatever. But Theo Von is getting up there.
All right.
Do you ever seen a shrink before?
Therapy. Yeah, I went to therapy.
You went, but you stopped going.
Well, after a while, it's just like, well, I've told all the bad stories, and I'm always going to have problems. This is just becoming like this, lifelong car payment now to have to come over here, be like, well, this happened.
Yeah.
My garage door was locked, and I just felt like a after a while. Like, when are you going to just, get off this couch here and go live your life and stop having to talk to this person?
Yeah, you're full of anger. Because
No.
you flog yourself for being vulnerable.
Would you stop it like you
Yeah.
have some sort of
I
psychology
do.
degree?
10 years in therapy.
So what? I've watched football for 40 years. I shouldn't be somebody's coach.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not your therapist,
Then,
but
then you're
I-
going to like superimpose your issues of the psychos in your life onto me. It's like alcoholics. They just
Yeah.
always like, oh, yeah,
you're
you
drinking,
need,
yeah.
you drink. You must be like me.
Yeah.
The whole world, because they're addicts. So
Yeah.
they're so self-involved. The whole world has to be like them.
Yes, I agree. I'm so glad you're here to put
see.
Christina in her place. She,
I'm the worst, huh?
the worst.
I know.
Now, this one's a bonus here, but I wanted to show you because it's a clear example of how Bill Burr is a savage to whoever, regardless if they are a new podcaster or a new comedian or a seasoned comedian like Tom and Christina, because he's done it to other people, even Joe Rogan. But in this case, it was pretty funny because Christina clearly thought that he had something on Bill. She thought that she was about to have him on something, and then Bill Burr turns around and completely dunks on her to the point where Tom just had to completely change the subject and showed him his favorite video of the car mechanic getting crushed by the car.
I mean, if you went to whatever Comic-Con of podcasting, would you be nervous?
Yes.
All right. Well, you're an apprehensive
talking
person.
to a nervous guy.
I'm so neurotic. I'm nervous. I'm nervous right now.
Okay.
Very nervous.
I don't think that's going to help.
How do you? Was there ever? No, trust me. I'm on edge. Does he even know anything? I also wonder. Does he just pretend like he knows, and then we believe him? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, you're right. You're really.
I mean, he's doing this. I mean, how much? What does that do?
Well, I think the guy knows what he's doing.
Okay,
I mean, he got a TV show. There's people. He worked with a lot of
no.
famous people's dogs. No famous people got eaten by dogs. So I would say, on some level,
There's
he must
something
have
to
known.
that's.
Yeah. You're a really cynical guy, man.
I thought you were down. I thought you were going to be down.
That is a lot for me to say that.
I thought
you're
you were
like
going to be down, but
cynical in me.
apparently I'm cynical even to Bill Burr. Shit.
Now, the podcast with Ethan starts off a little bit light, but then quickly sets the tone. Bill Burr sets the tone that it's not going to be an easy one because right away he starts disagreeing with him on some stuff that he mentions. Now, something very interesting here is that if you compare Bill Burr's appearance on Theo Von's podcast versus his appearance on the H3 podcast, there is a difference. When he was on Theo Von's, it was more aggressive, combative, and dismissive. But when it comes to Ethan, he's still calling him out. He's still disagreeing with him on a lot of stuff and not taking it easy. But it's more like a fatherly type of reaction, if that makes any sense at all. Like, he still regrets being there, but he's more understanding that Ethan is a newbie, I guess.
No, my dad actually at work did. At work, that's when I learned, like, oh my God, yeah, he really likes us. But when he came home, yeah, he was cracking the whip. How's your bed made? You do your studies? Well, why not? You know. And he also had a zillion kids, so I mean, yeah.
Really? How many siblings do you have?
I don't know, dude. The internet's too fucking weird to give out all that information.
Oh, you don't even want to say how many because you're afraid that it will somehow
by all means,
compromise
keep
your
talking
privacy.
about it. Is there any way you can cut this out? I'm honest, dude. Like,
seriously?
Yeah, no, dude. There's lunatics out there.
Okay.
Whoa.
Off the air, I'll tell you.
All right.
Jeez. I love how surprised he is. Jeez.
Well,
There's
you can
actually-
mention the
there's
amount.
absolutely crazy people out
Okay,
there.
yeah. No, I'm not.
Well, I could never do it all over again because of what I do. I need social media. But if I wasn't, a performer, if I was a manager or anything like that, I would have a website, but I would not be on social media at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. I don't know why that got so flat on my part. Tell me about all things comedy. I don't know. You see, I'm nervous. I'm sweating here.
I'm just going to let you sit.
I know you are. You don't have to save me.
You got to push through to the other side. It's
No,
going
I
great.
know, but you don't. You don't have
great.
to save
Look
me.
at you. You're all sweaty. You're touching iliac.
Now, this is the moment that most people point towards because this is when Ethan Klein makes the crucial mistake of forgetting that Bill Burr is over 55 years old or was over 52 years old when that happened and doesn't have a very public life like other people do, like he does. So asking that question and then repeating it again, it's like going up to a sober person, offering them a beer, and when they decline, you say, "Oh, really? You don't even want to drink one beer because you think you're going to go off rails?" Like, it's just unnecessary, and you got to know how to read the room after that. And then it was a brave move by Ethan Klein to actually keep that in after Bill asked him if they could cut it out. But in my opinion, the weirdest and most awkward part of that podcast came after that when Ethan Klein was trying to show him some of the videos that they used to react to. And Bill Burr unintentionally started completely trashing React channels and commentary channels, basically saying how he hated that they were trying to tell him how to think about a certain clip. Yikes.
I watch that shit. I don't get it. Like, you know what annoys me the worst is when there's like, say something happens. Like, okay, so you were showing me that clip or whatever, the little fella there sliding on his face,
grind.
right? Yes, the face grind. So it's just like, it'll just say little person epic face grind, right? And then it comes on, and all of a sudden this guy, okay, you're not gonna believe there's a wrestler. And I'm always like, shut up!
Yes.
I know
Let's
what
see
it
the
is.
face grind.
Oh, I see. She just keeps petting her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is creepy, dude. You watch creepy shit.
Well, this is good stuff. I mean, you know.
That's stuff that we've made videos about.
Good
That's
care.
our...
So, I mean, you're very protective of your hand.
What else is going on in the world? I want to ask you about this. This is one of the first times I heard about you. I was in college, I think, at the time. It was when you were getting booed by thousands of people
I was
in
hoping
Philly.
you were. I was like, when you said my favorite
don't-
YouTube video, I was like, oh God, not the Philly thing again. And then you did the Sherry's Berries. I was like, I love this podcast. Now I hate you.
Oh no.
I love. What can I do? I
absolutely-
love that.
I'm joking. Okay, let's do it.
But do you?
What was
But,
going through your head?
no, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna ask you.
Were booing. You've been booed before.
You've talked about this a lot.
Probably more than the grape lady.
I didn't
Yes.
realize.
No, but go ahead. Let's
now,
do it.
Well,
Let's
now
do it.
I
We can
frankly,
skip
I like making you.
I
like
to
making you.
skip it.
I like making you uncomfortable.
It was definitely a tough thing to watch because think about it. After a tough podcast, Ethan was trying to close up the show by showing Bill Burr some funny videos and hopefully make him laugh. But then ends up completely getting trashed. And just imagine if the roles were reversed and if, I don't know, Ethan said something like, hey, I think cigars are dumb and I think all the people that smoke them are probably douchebags, not knowing that Bill Burr loves them. That would have been wild. That's essentially what happened, to the point that even he had to step in and tell Burr, hey, these are the kind of videos that we used to make.
What were we talking about? Because I was interested. If we could go take a step back.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
Oh, we were talking about Bill Burr.
Yeah, we're talking about, welcome to the Bill Burr recovery group.
Yeah, I went into therapy after that episode. I'm not
Did you
even
really?
I'm not even being kidding. I mean, I was having a depressive episode for a long time.
Right.
And I had these antidepressants next to my bed.
Oh.
It was soul crushing.
And was it soul crushing because you felt like as an interviewer it was soul crushing, or just like on a human level? Like, do you know the levels where it felt that it hit you?
Right. Everything, man. My fans were, I don't know, fans, but the audience were very harsh. As an interviewer, I felt like a failure. It was just off. It wasn't, it didn't feel that bad, but it was the reaction, the audience reaction to it afterwards. I mean, I knew I had goofed up and that it was not the best interview. And I was such a big fan of Bill Burr, obviously, who isn't. He's a legend.
Yeah, it was when he came in here, it was a strange experience, man. It was, I don't know. I just felt like he was a different person, not on podcasts than he was on podcasts. It's almost like, but then also, I didn't really know him that great. And so maybe I just don't know how people are.
And I know some people might argue that those podcasts weren't that bad and it wasn't that big of a deal. But even Ethan and Theo Vaughn both talked about it in a podcast that they did together, which, it sounded like it was pretty tough for them. I didn't think it was that big of a deal to be talking about it on a podcast, but I understand. But I get it, because if I had an opportunity to talk to Bill Burr and it didn't go the best way possible, I would be pretty upset too. But what's interesting is that was nothing compared to what he was about to get and he gets now. So I just think it's pretty interesting, and maybe Bill Burr did help both of them out. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. Well, kind of, but we're getting there. So yeah, make sure to subscribe. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today. See ya.